It's the modern day question. What color is London? Serge Gnabry clearly has an opinion. However, we can decide that with London Imperialism on Football Manager 2023. Thanks to this map, adapted from hiddenlondon.com, locating 20 London clubs from the top 6 tiers of English football, we will be spinning a wheel and an arrow to decide which teams play which. Shout out to Dean's World for the original idea. The first club picked was Hampton and Richmond Borough, who play in the 6th tier of the English pyramid. They're heading basically north, where they have to play Brentford.
It's not looking good, bruv.
I played all these matches through the FM versus mode where I can set up a 1v1 matchup. After quickly setting up the tactics, I let the teams play. It's not like me doing anything would help the Beavers. There is no magic of the cup here, as Ivan Toney and Mbueno both got hat-tricks to celebrate the Bees claiming some land. At least Hampton and Richmond Borough has a longer Wikipedia page.
Don't ever sing that!
Regardless, Brentford are becoming massive as they cover up more space on the map. Next up is another 6th tier club, Dulwich Hamlet, who donned a pink and navy kit. They're heading east, which saw them challenge Millwall. Now, I'm not an expert on a lot of these London clubs, so the tactic setup is based on what formation Google says they played, and choosing one of the recommended presets, making slight adjustments if necessary. It's not like that mattered here, as Zion Fleming caught the Hamlet's keeper off his line with a decent strike. Circus Club then won a penalty, which saw Vogelshammer get stopped. Can the Hamlets get themselves back in it? You betcha! Danny Mills was strong on the ball and found Dan Smith for the equalizer. It was going to take something special to take this team down. Heartbreak for Dulwich Hamlet, and will the streets be safe with a Millwall takeover? Queen's Park Rangers were chosen after, and the arrow pointed them south to battle Brentford. A thing about this West London area is that these 3 clubs were on the same area of the map. So what I did was move Chelsea to this open space on the right, QPR to this open space on the left, and Fulham in the middle to make everything easier. What wasn't easy was the 70 plus minutes QPR had to play against Brentford with 10 men. The Hoops are still high up the English pyramid, but not at the same level as their opponents. However, they caught the Bees sleeping as Lyndon Dykes found space in behind to score the opening goal. Could 10 men QPR actually do it? No, and Mbueno equalized 10 minutes later. Imperialism really doesn't like fairy tale stories. In the final 10 minutes, as the rain was at a downpour, Joss Da Silva decided to have a strike from distance, and I don't know if the rain got in the keeper's eyes, but he had an absolute howler. Another one for Brentford, and they claim more land with 17 teams left. Leyton Orient were then picked by the wheel, and they had to go northwest to Tottenham. I mean, Wrexham defeated Arsenal in 1992, but the divide between those tiers have only gone up as the money keeps increasing at the top. That was showcased with a quite simple goal by Son in the 19th minute. Harry Kane would score a penalty just after the half, but to be fair to Leyton, they kept things tight at the back and didn't concede any more. Now, they didn't get any shots and lost their land, but it was a commendable effort. Leyton Orient had a lot of real estate, but so did several clubs. That's because with the empty space, I decided to give that area to the nearest club just to save time and make it look filled up. This next one is a doozy, as Chelsea were selected and had to go northeast to face Arsenal. A classic was on our hands as N'Golo Kante opened everything up in the 6th minute. The teams don't have any of their transfers from January 2023, so Chelsea didn't have their 100 million signings available. They weren't needed though. N'Golo was enough, as he looked like prime Zinedine Zidane with his outside boot shot 20 yards from goal. Arsenal would find themselves as Kepa decided to do Kepa things, and Chelsea defended like, well, Chelsea. In the second half, Xhaka nearly stunned Kepa, but it would be Arsenal's star boy Bukayo Saka taking the lead with 30 to go. Captain America was keeping the Blues in the fight and would beat Zinchenko for a penalty. This game automatically put Conte on the spot, and while it wasn't pretty as his other 2 strikes, it'll do. So extra time was upon us, and if a match does go past the 90, I make 3 subs to both sides, and another at the halftime interval. However, before we got there, Smith Rowe found Saka, but his shot was parried to Nketiah, who laid it off to the mentioned Emile, which he tucked home. Chelsea had no response, and one of the favorites were out, seeing N'Golo's efforts wasted. Next up was 5th tier Wealdstone, and they had to go southeast, which saw Brentford challenged once again. Yeah, Brentford took their land without any trouble. Another 5th tier side had to go out to the battlefield, this time Dagenham and Redbridge. With the arrow going slightly northwest, it'd be Tottenham who take their land. No doubt about it. League 2 side Sutton United were the following pick, and being directed east from their original location had Crystal Palace waiting. I'm starting to sense a pattern. Palace was beginning to take over South London. Fulham followed, and their direction was northwest, which points to yet another Brentford fixture. These two are 5 miles away from each other, and Fulham had an opportunity to significantly increase their land. The fixture itself had 2 big chances, Adebayo hitting the post, and Leno making this ridiculous stop on Ivan Toney. Then bad news Brentford came as Vitaly Anelt received a second yellow with minutes remaining. Still, nothing separated the sides, and extra time did not come. I'm an idiot. I forgot to change the fixture to a one-legged affair, so they had to play a second match. Brentford would get their disadvantage when the man replacing Anelt, Frank Onyeka, got sent off in the 45th minute. The difference is that Mbouna scored in the beginning of the match, giving Brentford the lead. Despite the extra man for 45 minutes, Fulham couldn't find an equalizer and lost their tiny piece of turf to Brentford. The wheel then chose AFC Wimbledon, who had a tough match no matter what direction. They were set up to go east, which from their original location led to a battle with Millwall. It was a quick start for the Mill, as Wiggleshammer found George Honeyman for the opener. Wimbledon were keeping more possession and had the better XG, but Millwall doesn't need those crappy analytics. They have Route 1 football, and the Honeyman found Zion Fleming for the second before halftime. When it all seemed lost for the League 2 side, they found hope at kickoff where they went up the field and won a penalty. Brown tucked it home to bring them within one. Can Wimbledon get back into this? No, there's no fairy tales here. Millwall would find a third as Fleming scored his second. Wimbledon had a good few chances afterwards, but couldn't convert. The statistics were on their side, but the defending wasn't, as Millwall found a fourth and claimed Wimbledon's land. These streets ain't ready for the Millwall takeover. Just excuse me for using the wrong color. Every team picked on the wheel has ended up losing their land. So with Tottenham next, will that continue? I'm so sorry, Barnett. The Vanarama national side did well compared to others, but they were never in this match. Tottenham had the most area, and they had another chance to increase it. It was southeast, hitting West Ham. There have been tense battles between the two in the past, but this one was a snooze fest in comparison. Although Skamaka nearly scored this audacious chip. Substitutions came in for extra time, but nothing separated the two, so we got our first penalty shootout.
I've never seen a man as confident as Harry Kane. Whistle has been blown.
Mr. Potato Salad Man Souček was next. He looked confident, but was stopped as well. Perisic would open the scoring, but Lucas Paqueta wasn't as assertive. Højbjerg would get Spurs' second, and Benrahma would open West Ham's account. Then, Basuma's P-roller was enough to go in, and true fall for West Ham kept the Hammers alive. However, that wouldn't matter, as Richarlison would secure the win, claiming the land, and making sure West Ham were no longer massive. Now, you might wonder why this area is locked. Well, it's Wembley, and I felt like no club should own that land until there is one team left. Spurs would argue that they played there for a season, so it should be theirs. However, I disagreed, and with Brentford picked on the wheel, they finally got to challenge somebody. The direction sent them to Tottenham, and shockingly took the lead before the half. The response from Spurs was initially strong with Son hitting the woodwork. However, when Harry Kane gets the ball in this position, you're just out of luck. The Bees were rattled, and a big mistake gave Son a massive chance, but he squandered it. Then, in added time, Brentford playing well, but one mistake. Oh, Tony? No way. Ivan Tony! Excuse my voice, but
It's the history of the Tottenham.
Brentford claimed Spurs' land and now are the current kings of London. There have been 3 sides we haven't seen yet, and one of them will be picked next. Bromley had to go northwest, which saw Millwall. Not ideal for the Vanarama National League team, but things look promising after the first half. Sadly for them, Millwall is inevitable. George Honeyman's brace, added with a Jay Cooper header, continued the supremacy of the Arsenal was the wheel's next choice, and they only had 2 options, direct south for Millwall or anywhere else for Brentford. It was southwest, which goes to the Chelsea/Fulham area, meaning we get Arsenal versus Brentford. The bad news for the Gunners was the injury of Gabriel Jesus early on, although, just like in real life, this allowed for the emergence of Eddie Nketiah. After each side received a red card, Zinchenko would score a third and cap it off with a little dance. A statement victory for Arsenal, which now gives them the largest landmass in London. The wheel clearly became a gooner, as Arsenal were chosen once again, and the direction of the arrow was slightly southwest. They would miss out on Millwall based on their original location, but since they technically border Palace, I had them face each other. Nketiah was threatening early, but the score remained 0-0. That was until late on, where a Saka cross misses Nketiah, but finds Martinelli for the win. Oh, offside. After Zaha got some treatment, the 2 clubs went into extra time. Nothing was worth adding in those 30 minutes, which brought us penalties. Palace's star Zaha must have been feeling the effects from earlier, as Ramsdale read him like a book. Fabio Vieira, Etse, and Saka converted theirs, but Ramsdale would make a second save, blocking Elise's efforts. Smith Rowe scored Arsenal's third, and while Will Hughes kept Palace alive, Zinchenko wasn't going to miss. That didn't matter, as Ramsdale stopped another one right after, giving more land to Arsenal. London is becoming more and more red, and with the last Premier League opposition out the way, it seemed like this could only go one direction. To Charlton, a League One side? Yeah, Arsenal were chosen by the wheel again. Despite an early Nketiah goal, Charlton kept it close. Unfortunately, the Addicts couldn't find a single key chance for themselves, as Arsenal narrowly won the match. Only 3 teams left, and it's Arsenal again, and they have to face the only team who hasn't appeared yet, Welling United in the Vanarama South. They lost 8-0. That means the final match is between Arsenal and Millwall to determine what color is London. Not only will the winner get the other's land, they will also claim Wembley. Some shoddy goalkeeping nearly gave Arsenal an early advantage, but it wouldn't take too much longer for the number 14 to get involved. He should have had a hat-trick, as the mighty Millwall were no match for the Gunners, as Nketiah and co. not only claimed Millwall's land, not just Wembley, but the entirety of London. It's confirmed. Serge Gnabry was right.